Hi, Mike Kennedy with you. A new mushroom book. How to forage for mushrooms without dying. An absolute beginner's guide to identifying 29 wild edible mushrooms. And it's written by Frank Hyman, who lives in North Carolina. So, one of the things I like about this book is that this is small. This would be easy to carry with you. There are other books that are really good that tend to be a little bit larger and would not be something you want to carry around with you probably. Keep it in the car, certainly. So I still would advise people just to get this book and go out and start eating things they find. But what you can do with this is start to look for edible mushrooms. So this philosophy here is, rather than coming up with a guide that has all of these different kind of mushrooms in it, this is picking 29 that are edible and that are good to eat. Although I must mention, my favorite mushroom to eat isn't in it. So that's interesting. The one I like is bicolor bolete, and they changed the name recently to Forage bicolor. So, here's a little section. He's got text in here too, talking generally about mushrooms and other things, and mushroom poisoning. There's been fewer than 4 deaths per year of people eating mushrooms. And he talks about a lot of other people reporting being poisoned, getting sick, and everything. And in Canada, there was this case where people were actually, and this was Vancouver, Canada, who were hospitalized due to botulism from improperly canned chanterelles. So here you have a very edible, sought-after mushroom. They were canned, but it wasn't done properly, and they got botulism poison. And in 1991, this is also in Canada, morels were served raw to people, and 77 guests at this banquet ended up in the hospital. And of course, any mushroom book will tell you that you have to cook them. You don't ever eat those raw. And so how in the world this restaurant or banquet facility served these raw mushrooms to people? It's hard to believe that someone would make a mistake like that. But so he's pointing out that more people die of mishandled edible mushrooms than die of eating deadly mushrooms. And there's a lot of mushrooms that make you sick, a lot of mushrooms that make you wish you were dead, and then there are just mushrooms that disagree with people. There are mushrooms that are too bitter or too woody to eat. Some people are allergic to mushrooms, very allergic, and they wouldn't want to be anywhere near eating mushrooms. But so, there are plenty of photographs in here. So he'll take, let's see, here's the hedgehog mushroom, and he's going to break it down, talking about it. Talks about eating it. This one says highly sought after for a texture like chanterelles. Gourmet hedgehogs have a milder flavor. Talks about how you can preserve them. Says they don't rehydrate well. Talking about maybe turn them into a powder after you dehydrated them, and then you put them back in soups and things. So, a lot of mushrooms kind of lose their texture in the drying process, especially if they have been dried later in their life. Sometimes when things are younger, they dehydrate better. Talks about farming, says it's a mycorrhizal mushroom, which means it lives in combination with certain plants and trees. And then it goes into what the lookalikes are. And this is interesting here. It has this page. 10 things you check, not 10 things, sorry, there's not 10, but know before you eat. And he's got this broken down into different things, saying where they are. They've got a white spore print, throughout North America. So then he has this checklist. He says, so he's got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characteristics that he's saying, if the mushroom you have doesn't fit these, it isn't it. So that's good. And I guess I still wouldn't recommend someone just pick up this book and go up and start eating wild mushrooms. But there are a lot of people foraging for mushrooms now. Over the last 20 years, it's gone up as it's kind of gotten into more of the mainstream. Excuse me. You see more people on these cooking shows using different type of mushrooms in their dishes. And if you form the right relationships with restaurants and you really can find and pick mushrooms in their really premium state, which is kind of might be a little younger, certainly not buggy and different things like that. But if you can find those top quality mushrooms, they are very saleable. But it's good to have some restaurants that you've developed a relationship with, and go from there. And then you'd have an idea where you could sell it. Because normally, most mushrooms say, I find some hen of the woods mushrooms, and so I've got I want to sell it. It's really good quality and stuff. Well, you pick it one day, and then you're going to go to a couple different restaurants over a couple different days. Well, obviously the later day, the mushroom isn't going to be as good as the first day. And so I'm just saying there's more to it than just going out and picking this and saying, oh yeah, let's take this to a restaurant on Friday and try to sell it. It's more complicated than that. But I'm in it purely for, which a lot of people are, purely to find them, eat them myself. And it's really fun to go out and do this. You're getting exercise, you're crawling through nature, which does your world a good anyway. And you're hunting for something, and you do eventually find things that you can eat and bring home. And it's just, here's the black trumpets. It's funny, there's one year, there was just one spot, and all kinds of black trumpets came up. And I went back to that same spot 3 times to pick again, because, if they're really small, they're going to get bigger. You know where they are. If you have easy access to it, you're probably going to go back and pick them out when they were a little bit larger, but not too large. And then since then, that spot, I check it. We haven't had any more black trumpets for quite a while. So it's very interesting. He does have in this mushroom specifically not to eat too. Steer clear of these killers and sickeners. So he goes into some of the characteristics of them. One of the things he does that is really good too, he shows an example of, people you can eat puffballs, and they'll say, oh, as long as they're white in the center, you can eat any puffball. I wouldn't go by that, but he makes a point here, and he has a good diagram. Let me see. Well, of course, I'm not going to find it right now. But amanita mushrooms, when they first come up, they're like kind of in that roundish shape. So you would look at that and say, oh, there's a puffball. But once you cut it through, you can actually see how that regular mushroom with, with a cap and the stem and everything is just kind of folded together and hasn't opened yet. So that's good. But I think I'm going to enjoy having this with me when I'm out and about. And hopefully this year we'll have some good mushrooming. The last 2 years, at least here in southern Maine, have not been that good.